We have an update on the slow no wake zone.
Mayor and Council, this one is mostly mine, but I think others might be able to add. For perhaps the last few months, there's been some ongoing discussion about the potential for the City Council to recommend to the DNR Commissioner creation of a slow no wake zone in some portion of the St. Croix River that fronts the city. We staff have been in contact with DNR staff and others, our sheriff for Washington County and so forth, about process, primarily process. Initially, we were led to believe the public hearing is held by the City Council. We have input from community members, anybody that has interest in the establishment or not of a slow no wake zone, and then we convey that information to the DNR Commissioner with a recommendation by Council. Commissioner acts. As we found out and included in the memo that I presented to the county, or to the council, old habits, to the council, there are a series of data sets required by the DNR Minnesota administrative rules that speak directly to water surface use management. And I've included those, so there's a whole list of items that we'll have to do research on as staff and provide that data. The requirements for holding a public hearing are not enumerated in the rules, such as how much in advance of the meeting do you have to notify the public and so forth. But in speaking with DNR staff, they strongly suggest we follow all protocols that any other public hearing we might have. So in conversation with the city clerk, we would look forward to providing council agrees to set up a public hearing on this purpose for next meeting, April 17, and advise everybody of that. Also included in the package is a map that just is used for illustration to show what a 150-foot mark from the seawall would look like, or the extent into the river, if there was a 150-foot extent of slow no wake zone. So it's interesting, in the administrative code or administrative rules, there are a couple options. 100 feet from the shoreline, 150 feet from the shoreline, or further, the whole body of water, the whole river, valley, what have you, if the need exists. So this is just an illustration. There may be merits in having that slow no wake zone run from the Dock Cafe along the whole of the seawall that the city has north up to the, I guess that's the fuel dock there near the marina.
Mulberry
north
Point.
End, right on Mulberry Point. There is some consideration should the whole of the slow no wake zone extend wider all the way across the river down south of us in Hudson. That is the case in certain areas. On whatever,
I think mostly on the river, they're all like that. So it'd be
all the whole length.
right.
Yeah.
So whatever the configuration is, Mayor and Council, we would need to we would draft a map that would show the extent of that as directed by Council, and then depending on when you'd like to conduct the public hearing, if it's next meeting or some future date, we would post that, and then we would include maps of what the extent is proposed to be.
I mean, I really think, again, from a public safety standpoint and understanding boaters and just that section of the river, I still think, I mean, you know, basically it runs the length of our levee wall where people are walking, where we have public safety issues with wakes when people can actually walk on there. And then the length of the river, the width of the river, with the bridge and the accidents that we've had, people running into the bridge, and then considering anything that we want to do on the, you know, for our park on the other side. I mean, I think that's what we talked about when this came before council the first time, was doing it for the extent of the river.
Tom or Sean, do you know if the MnDOT has applied for any type of no wake for the bridge construction this summer, particularly with the section that's been going to be removed out of there? Have they applied for any type of no wake in that section at all?
They haven't applied and they will not apply.
So
They don't need one for this project.
So for that, there'll be nothing. It'll just be standard, other than the bridge won't go up, they'll have a section to go through.
Correct.
But nothing, well,
But it's law that it's law no wake under a bridge right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's already 100 feet from shore structure. So,
So it's law that they have,
150.
that's why I went along with it, because I think they need to slow down before they get to that bridge anyway, because
Right.
most people don't know that it's no wake under a bridge right now. You cannot, you're supposed to have no wake. So if we do this, I'm not in favor of this 150 yards, or 150 feet from shore. I think we got to do the whole width of the river and from levee wall to levee wall. I'm fine with that, but if we're going to go with the 150 feet out, that's doing nothing, because
it's not going to
somebody could go out 150 feet and make a wake. What are we trying to accomplish? Stopping the waves hitting our shore.
Well, again, it's just there's too many boats hanging out waiting to get under that bridge for people to be driving 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour. I mean, we've got a boat on the river right now that goes 120 some odd miles an hour.
I know.
And it's
But not for very long.
right, yeah. I mean, and it can get under the bridge at that speed. And I've seen it happen, when the water's low. So, I don't know. I just think, as a safety measure, while that part of the river isn't, Stillwater City, technically, I think it reflects on our city if something bad were to happen there. And I've just seen enough accidents on that section of the river over my years that it just only makes sense that you would slow people down when you've got, 50 boats on either side of that bridge waiting for it to go up and down, and others cruising around at 60 miles an hour. And then a whole bunch of pedestrians on shore getting waked out. To me, it just makes sense. So I'd like to see the map, again, like you just mentioned, Councilmember Plano, just encompass our levee wall and go across the river.
Because then we'd have to probably bring St. Croix County into this conversation too.
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I think anyone that's spent any time out there understands that there are a lot of boats.
Yeah.
And going really fast right around them. Again, you're supposed to be 100 feet away from a boat with a wake. I mean, you're not supposed to be flying by anybody. And for whatever reason, just because that's what people have always done there, no one respects the 100-foot from shore structure. No one respects the other boats that are sitting there waiting to get under the bridge. Unfortunately, we have to put some slow and wake buoys out to slow people down. Otherwise, people are going to continue to get hurt.
so you're thinking on the north end, drawing that straight line almost from the gas dock, because that was the original intent too of the presenters. They wanted to at least protect the gas dock as well.
Well, they'd like it for their whole marina right now, but they actually illegally post that no wake out there. They can't do that.
I think you can put those
I don't
buoys
think you
out
can.
100.
I don't think
that
you can.
100 feet.
They didn't have a permit for them.
But I think if we're looking at a no wake, I'd certainly like to see to protect the gas dock from as far.
I think it will just by default. I mean, again, my understanding of this has to be directly related to public safety, which is my intent with this. It's my understanding that the sheriff's departments are not interested in anything that involves protecting docks and boats from that stuff. For me, it's a public safety issue. If there's a public safety issue with the gas dock on the Sloan Lake, I'm more than happy to hear about it. But for me, it's the pedestrians and just the boat traffic surrounding the bridge going up and down that I'm looking at trying to remedy.
If the direction is to conduct the public hearing or set the public hearing for our next meeting, we'll notify community members of that. We'll post it as necessary, and we'll include a map that shows, just as outlined, from the length of the seawall, basically the dock cafe north to Mulberry Point in this gas dock, straight across the river. And that'll be the proposal. We'll
That's
contact St. Croix County as well. That Sheriff's Department will have to be engaged in the conversation too.
And will they, I mean, at what point are they going to give us feedback and say, you know what, this is too big, too little, their public safety input? I mean.
The sheriff's departments,
Is they
we'd
kinda-
invite them to the public hearing
Okay.
to, bring up their concerns. Or
They're the ones that are on the
provide-
water all the time, patrolling, so I mean,
Provide
I'd really like
feedback
to
and
get
so
their
forth. Yep.
take on this. Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Can you send us a map ahead of time so we can
Sure.
see what it looks like?
Yep. Please. We can get something drafted up in the next couple days and get it out to
Thank you.
folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer on the north end, shorter on the south.
Like I said, I think it makes people slow down when they get by the bridge, and that's where our problem is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of an individual that ran over with a cruiser, ran over a fisherman out there, and the fisherman died a number of years ago out
Saw
there.
a jet ski land on a 20-foot open bow boat like
Yep.
5 or 6 years ago. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Moving on, new business, possible approval